It was a momentous decision. On Thursday, April 27th, the United Nations Security Council unanimously adopted a resolution condemning the Taliban's discrimination against women and girls in Afghanistan and calling for the country's leadership to swiftly reverse policies banning education, employment, and equal public participation of women and girls. This resolution, co-sponsored by over 90 countries, received 15 yes votes, marking an incredibly rare show of unity and consensus on the Council. This resolution is legally binding and calls for the Taliban to end their restrictions and prohibitions on women working and attending school after 6th grade. It also addresses the Taliban administration's edict on April 4th that forbids the United Nations from employing Afghan women and called the measure unprecedented in the history of the United Nations, that undermines human rights and humanitarian principles. Due to the deep rift formed within the Council after Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2014, many of the world's most pressing problems had remained unresolved, and the negotiations over the resolution's final wording were complex and lengthy. But the unity and consensus seen in this resolution shows a path forward for the Council in addressing major issues that the world is still facing, such as the Taliban's discrimination against women and girls in Afghanistan. Lana Nasiba, the U.S. ambassador who led the drafting of the resolution with Japan's representative, said the Council was sending an unequivocal message of condemnation to the Taliban for their treatment of women and girls. Ambassador to the U. Linda Thomas-Greenfield also issued a statement saying that the Taliban has reneged on its promises to the international community and to Afghan women and girls by implementing oppressive measures against them, including barring them from working with the U.N.S. and from attending universities and secondary schools. China and Russia, two of the Council's permanent members, responded differently to the resolution's passing. China criticized the hasty American exit from Afghanistan and their decision to freeze the country's assets, urging Washington to make up for the harm it has caused to the Afghan people rather than continue to aggravate their suffering. However, Vasily A. Nebenzia, Russia's ambassador, criticized the Western members of the Council for blocking a more ambitious resolution that would have addressed the impact of sanctions on the Taliban and how to restore the assets that he believed the United States has stolen. The continued discrimination against women and girls stands as a major obstacle for the Taliban's attempt to gain recognition as the legitimate rulers of Afghanistan. To attempt to find a way forward, Secretary General Antonio Guterres is convening a meeting next month in Doha, Qatar, to discuss humanitarian operations, the governance of the Taliban, and counterterrorism. The Taliban have welcomed parts of the resolution, but they cling to the mentality that their decision to restrict Afghan women from working with the United Nations is an internal social matter of Afghanistan that does not impact outside states. The Taliban must realize that their antiquated beliefs and policies are no longer acceptable, and it is time to accept the resolution and grant Afghan women and girls the rights and freedoms that they have been long denied. Women around the world have been standing up for their rights and going to extraordinary lengths to gain access to education and employment opportunities. An example of this is seen in the Kandahar, Afghanistan, where a family is running an underground school in the basement of their house that allows girls above 6th grade to study. The passage of this resolution is an incredibly significant step forward in the fight to end gender inequality and discrimination in Afghanistan. It shows that the international community is united in the need to protect and promote the human rights of all people, particularly women and girls. It sends an important message that such violations will not be accepted and must be reversed. The United Nations and multiple countries across the world join forces in calling for equal, meaningful, and safe participation of women and girls in Afghanistan. Reaching a level of unity on this issue, the Security Council has opened the door for more action on major global issues and set a prime example that the world will no longer stand by silently as the women of Afghanistan are denied their human rights.